and welcome back to my channel. If you're anything like me, you're obsessed with Showtime's Yellowjackets. Yellowjackets centers around a group of women who survived a plane crash when they were teenagers. But the thing is, we don't know exactly how they survived. One of the major things I love about this show is that it centers on the fractured and dysfunctional relationships that often occur between teenage girls. So in this video, I thought I'd talk about 5 horror books that are similar in tone to Yellowjackets, and I think that if you like Yellowjackets, you'll enjoy these books. So let's get into it. First up is The Merciless. This book centers around a group of girls who kidnap a classmate who they believe is possessed by the devil, and they decide to perform an exorcism on her. But it doesn't go exactly as planned, and there's a lot of torture and a lot of dark stuff that goes on. What I love most about this story is that it explores the herd mentality that can occur between a group of people, especially teenage girls. There's a lot of cattiness and a lot of drama that is brewing between these girls that have sinister intentions when they try to portray themselves as having good intentions. Like Yellowjackets, this story really is kind of bleak and dark, and it explores the unique relationships and dynamics when you get a group of girls together. Next up is A Goddess of Filth. This is another possession horror story, but with a twist. The possession is actually a positive thing for the person being possessed. So this centers on a group of Latinx teenage girls who have just graduated from high school. They're in the summer before their year in college, and they decide to hold a seance one year, very much like The Craft. And one of them becomes possessed, and this possession awakens her inner goddess. She really comes into her own, and she expresses her true identity, her true sexuality, and she just becomes really empowered. This possession horror really explores how society places a lot of expectations on females and places females into a box. They expect us to act a certain way. This story really focuses on female empowerment, friendship, and individuality. Yellowjackets also explores similar themes. We have these teenage girls who are literally in their teenage years experiencing the horrifying tribulations of growing up and being a teenager, losing your virginity or not losing your virginity, and first love, and they're really navigating those teenage years while also trying to actually survive in the wilderness. So I think there's a lot of parallels between what Yellowjackets explores and what Goddess of Filth explores. Next is My Best Friend's Exorcism, another possession story. I have a thing for possession horror, okay? Clearly. I'm a huge fan of The Exorcist. So My Best Friend's Exorcism is a little bit campier than the rest, but it's still dark. This centers on 2 best friends who are struggling with their relationship because one of them becomes possessed, and one friend, the friend who is not possessed, does everything in her power to try to save her friend because she loves her friend. And I think that this story is really about the struggles that occur between female friends, the toxicity that can sometimes happen, and the difficulties of just being a teenage girl. The relationship between the 2 main characters, Abby and Gretchen, is very similar to the relationship between the 2 characters, Shauna and Jackie, in Yellowjackets. These 2 girls are best friends who love each other, but there's a little bit of tension and sort of a rivalry between them, and there's just this little bit of jealousy that's always underneath the surface, and there's always this need to outdo each other. There's a lot of struggle between this kind of friendship, this dynamic, and there's a lot of passive aggressiveness that occurs, and the show Yellowjackets explores this so well. You know that these girls really do deeply care for each other, but they're just going through real stuff that friendships sometimes have to go through. Sometimes you can love a friend deeply, but realize that you're not really compatible in that way. Next up is Wilder Girls. This is a dystopian horror novel about a group of girls who are basically quarantined to this all-girls boarding school on an island during this pandemic of this unknown disease called the tox that really kind of transforms your body. People are sprouting things out of their body, bones are appearing in weird places. It's a lot of weird body horror, but the story really focuses on the friendship between three girls and how they're discovering themselves, discovering who they are, their sexuality, their preferences, and really trying to navigate that part of their teenage years while also trying to navigate this new terrifying world. And the world, the outside world, there's so much mystery and danger to it, and I feel like it is extremely similar to Yellowjackets. They're out in this wilderness where there's a lot of mystery and obscurity to it. These girls are not only uneasy around each other and on kind of, anything can happen at the drop of a hat between each other, there's also this constant danger of the elements around them that they don't really know. And the last book I want to recommend is The Cheerleaders. This is more of a thriller, I would say, but the circumstances are pretty horrifying for me. So this centers on a small town where a group of cheerleaders all died one year, and it's 5 years later, and the sister of one of the cheerleaders is basically investigating what happened to her sister who died. This story really examines how certain events in the past have an effect on the people in the future still living with it, and I think that is very similar to Yellowjackets. The majority of Yellowjackets is exploring these women as adults who experience this horrific traumatic event in their childhood and how they're navigating adulthood and dealing with a lot of issues that are still rooted in what happened to them when they were teenagers. I really do like the exploration of grief and post-traumatic stress that occurs and how some people can never really escape their past. And I just think that The Cheerleaders also perfectly explores that as well. Now, there are other books that I've seen recommended, but I haven't read yet, so I don't know how well they stack up. But one I have been seeing a lot that it does sound like it is a great recommendation is Fantastic Land. This is about a group of people who are at an amusement park and a horrific event happens and these people have to survive there. And I think the story is taking place after the events happened and it's looking back. Very similar in structure to Yellowjackets, and I think that sounds perfect. Other ones, Rules for Vanishing, is about a group of girls who disappear and then they return one day and there's a lot of mystery surrounding what happened to them. So if you haven't watched Yellowjackets yet, I highly recommend it. I'm filming this on the eve of the season finale. It is truly a fantastic show. I literally am on the edge of my seat waiting every week. It is the most painful week to wait between episodes, but it's also so exciting because there's so many theories and I just love going on Reddit and just reading everybody's theories and thinking about what certain things mean, what's their symbols. There's a lot of things to theorize about, and I just think it's such a fun show. The cast is excellent. This show is just so good. If you're looking for more shows that I really enjoyed, I will link my 2021 horror favorites because there was a lot of TV that I enjoyed this year. Let me know if you've read any of the books I recommended, if you're watching Yellowjackets, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I will catch you next time. Bye.